It's official. Patrick Waugh is staying as the head coach of the New York Islanders, and finally, he will be given the opportunity to bring in the rest of his coaching staff to really have the Islanders play his style of hockey. We're going to break it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest, but really quickly before we get into that, I noticed that 87% of you who watch these videos are not yet subscribed to the channel. If you're an Islander fan, you want more Islanders content just like this, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to the channel. We're getting closer and closer to our goal of having 1,000 subscribers for the NHL draft. So if you haven't already, be sure to be a part of this Islanders community. And we got big news on the New York Islanders. A lot of news, frankly, from Mathieu Darche's first press conference as the general manager of the New York Islanders. And one of the biggest announcements right off the bat, off the first question, is that Patrick Waugh will be staying as the head coach of the New York Islanders. And this decision makes a lot of sense. I know we've talked about in previous videos some potential options to replace Patrick Waugh as the coach of the New York Islanders, but all those options that we already talked about are gone. This coaching market for the NHL has moved very quickly. Really difficult to find high quality coaches in the NHL these days, especially with 32 different teams competing for services. And with the Islanders' search for the next general manager taking as long as it did, I don't think that was a problem. I think they made the right decision, and it's good to really focus on a decision like hiring a GM. But as a result of that taking as long as it did, it really took the Islanders out of consideration to really bring in a top level coach. And frankly, while Patrick Waugh has had his faults with the New York Islanders, as we're going to talk about in the end of this video, I think overall he has done a lot of good things. And one thing you do have to talk about when it comes to Patrick Waugh is he disagreed with a lot of Lou Lamoriello's roster construction. He felt like he really did not have the quality of player, not quality, but type of players he needed to play his style. He wanted to play a more up-pace style, really focusing on speed and attacking the other team. And the Islanders were really built with a lot of slower players, more players who focus on the details, as Barry Trotz would really emphasize. There's a lot of talk about how Patrick Waugh didn't really want to focus on those details and rather wanted to focus on really the push of play. And as a result, it really was not the best fit with Lou Lamoriello. However, Mathieu Darche really emphasized early on in this press conference that he wants the Islanders to be a fast team. He really talked about how that doesn't mean that the team is not going to be focused on defense, but really he thinks speed is a huge part of playing good defense in the modern NHL. And as a result, I think this might actually be a really good fit for the Islanders, especially with Mathieu Darche. And even if it's not, even say it does not work out at all this season, then Mathieu Darche will have the opportunity to let go of Patrick Waugh and really bring in a coach next season when all the options are available. The fact of the matter simply is Patrick Waugh is the best coach available, especially when you look at the class of other coaches kind of floating around the league right now. There really is not a lot left, and while Patrick Waugh has had flaws as the head coach of both the Avalanche and the Islanders, he does a lot well. And now that he's going to be bringing in the rest of his staff, because that's the other key part of this announcement, that Patrick Waugh is finally going to have the opportunity to bring in the rest of his coaching staff to really help him supplement the type of hockey he wants to play. I think one of the biggest mistakes with the Islanders coaching staff last year was Lou Lamoriello keeping in his guys in John McClain and Tommy Albion. Granted, they do have experience and there are some things they do well, but frankly, the Islanders' assistant coaching staff was not really good last season. I mean, the power play and penalty kill were absolutely abysmal. And frankly, it just seemed like a lot of times some of the Islanders coaches were not on the same page, especially when it comes to Patrick Waugh's style and how he wants this team to play. Don't think coaching was the only factor for why the Islanders missed the playoffs, but as Mathieu Darche pointed out, he thinks this team really could have been a playoff team this year. And frankly, if you change the power play and penalty kill, which is mainly due to coaching, the Islanders make the playoffs last season. Let's be real. We're not really talking about selling Brock Nelson for Callum Ritchie and having the first overall pick. They likely get eliminated in the first round. Granted, they were not a perfect team. They're likely getting eliminated in the first round to the Washington Capitals or the Carolina Hurricanes. But this team probably would have made the playoffs. I mean, the penalty kill, especially in the beginning of the season, was absolutely abysmal. And while it did get marginally better as the season went on, it wasn't good enough. And frankly, the power play never recovered from its terrible start. Sure, players like Matt Barzal were injured, but still, there's no excuse for how bad that power play was. I mean, you have teams in the bottom of the league who really have no talents at all, still outperforming the Islanders power play by a wide margin. And in addition, their slow pace didn't really accumulate a lot of power plays in the first place, which really escalated all these issues. And hopefully, now that Patrick Waugh is staying, perhaps Mathieu Darche will try to give him a roster that better suits that type of hockey, that fast-paced hockey that he wants to play, because it seems like that's exactly the type of hockey that Mathieu Darche wants the Islanders to play. And I highly recommend, if you haven't already, listen to the press conference with Mathieu Darche first addressing the media that got released today by the New York Islanders. A lot of good stuff. We're going to make a video later on today, if you can't watch the full Islanders press conference, that kind of summarizes the big takeaways that I found from that press conference, and really talking about what it seems like Mathieu Darche is going to do next with the New York Islanders. But I highly recommend you listen to that. And more news when it comes to Mathieu Darche, and really what his first actions are going to be with the New York Islanders, is a new coaching staff is coming to Bridgeport. And there was a huge emphasis in this press conference on the Bridgeport Islanders and how the entire farm system needs to be better, and how important it is to have a good farm system. And Islander fans are probably going to celebrate at this. You never want to see someone lose their job, but the play that Bridgeport has had in the past few seasons, especially last season, winning a total of 15 games, is absolutely unacceptable. And with this, it really shows Mathieu Darche's emphasis on evaluating coaching, which makes a lot of sense and shows that he really does have a solid understanding of what priorities need to be, considering, as we talked about, coaches are going left and right as teams really restructure their coaching staffs. It's good the Islanders are going to get ahead of this right away, firing the coaching staff in Bridgeport, and really looking to bring in new coaches that can hopefully develop players better, because that is really so important for NHL teams, especially with so many teams now. It's hard to find talent, and the Islanders were not developing their own talent at all, which is, you can't have that at the NHL level, and Mathieu Darche understands that, and it's going to be a priority. Now, talking a little bit more about Patrick Waugh and how he has been as a coach, and why I think it makes a lot of sense for the Islanders to retain him, is he's done a lot of good as a coach. I mean, he's a Jack Adams winner with the Colorado Avalanche, not the New York Islanders. But in 5 years as a coach, he has always had he's always been above 500 by a wide margin. In total, for his career, he has a 563% points percentage. There are some flaws with Patrick Waugh and the way he coaches. I mean, the big criticism right now is the way he kind of left things with Anthony Duclair, having him take a leave of absence. Although I honestly think more blame with that is on Anthony Duclair. I was a little bit frustrated with Patrick Waugh there at the time, but even then, it seemed like whatever was going on with Anthony Duclair, and this is definitely going to be an interesting topic now that Patrick Waugh is coming back, and they are going to have to either figure something out, or now that we know Patrick Waugh is coming back, that means if somebody has to be moved, it's going to be Duclair. Really looking at his statistics over the years as a coach, this is a coach who has coached teams well. I mean, especially that first season with the Avalanche. And a big takeaway there is that team that he had with the Avalanche that first season really was not great of a team. This is a coach who can really get a lot out of the teams he's coached. Now, he did make some mistakes with the Avalanche. They really slipped down year after year. And so far, we're seeing the same trend with the New York Islanders, with the Avalanche slipping from a 683 points percentage to 549, and then to 500. And then the Islanders have gone from 608 with their first season of Patrick Waugh, a half a season, and then 500. So the big question here is, can Patrick Waugh learn from these mistakes and really get back to those winning ways? It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this New York Islanders roster, especially considering we're not really sure what type of team the Islanders are going to be next season. Mathieu Darche, while he said last season the Islanders could have been a playoff team and that he plans on building them back into a team that is contending every single season, didn't really talk about whether or not the Islanders' plan was to get back at it right away. And he even mentioned at one point how you might have to take a step back before you take 2 steps forward. So it'll be really interesting to see what Patrick Waugh can do with this team. Still, when it comes to coaching record, he definitely is better than some of the other options out there, which leads to think, let me know what you think in the comments about Patrick Waugh returning as the head coach of the New York Islanders. I think this was the right decision to make. We'll see whether or not it works out long term, and I don't think he is going to be a stopgap coach. I think this is definitely a chance for him to prove that he can do it for Mathieu Darche. And I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about Patrick Waugh coming back as the coach of the New York Islanders? Love to have hockey discussions in the comments with you guys. As always, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Patrick Nilan. This is Islanders Digest. Let's go Islanders.